2021 marks the 40th anniversary of an unfinished project for Team Canada. The 1981 Canada Cup seemed to be on paper probably one of the most important series in NHL history, because the majority of our top players were available to play in it. At the time, ladies and gentlemen, this was the World Cup of hockey. Well, it was called the Canada Cup because Canada was always the host. Now, Team Canada won in 1976, and he won in 1984, 87, 91. Eventually, the States won it, but at the time, it was a really, really big deal. Now, it was considered the World Hockey Championships because at the time Canada couldn't send their best because Canada was in the midst of NHL playoffs at the time and couldn't send over the best Team Canada. Ironically, they were back in the Worlds in 77 and still couldn't get any better than second or third place. Now, this event in 1981, called the Labatt Canada Cup, was considered the second best on best ice hockey title event in the world and involved the world's top 6 hockey nations, including Finland, Sweden, Russia, Czechoslovakia, Canada, States. Now, tournament games were held in Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, and Ottawa, and the Soviet Union won the event in a single game final, but I'm not going to get into that right away. I'll leave that debacle till later. Now, Wayne Gretzky led the tournament scoring with 12 points. He was playing on a line with Gilbert Perreault and Guy Lafleur for the majority of the games before Perreault was injured. Now, the second edition of the Canada Cup was originally scheduled to be held in 1979, but was postponed due to disputes between the Canadian Amateur Hockey Association and Hockey Canada. It was postponed a second time in 1980 following the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and Canada's boycott of sporting events with the Soviet Union as a result. Of course, we never went to the Summer Olympics that year. When finally held in 1981, tournament organizer Al Nicholson speculated it could be the last such event due to rising costs and disappointing attendance. Nicholson generated additional controversy when he refused to allow the Soviets to take the Canada Cup trophy with them to the Soviet Union. Now, at its Congress in the summer of 78, the International Ice Hockey Federation approved a proposal to hold the second and third Canada Cup tournaments in 79 and 82. However, tensions between, again, the CAHA and Hockey Canada increased after the latter body accused the CAHA of reneging on promises it had made regarding Hockey Canada's control of international events involving professional players. Now, Hockey Canada's chief negotiator for international events, again Al Nicholson, total conflict of interest, accused the CAHA of attempting to sabotage the Canada Cup and threatened to cancel the tournament if the CAHA refused to compromise with his body. Now, the tournament was put in further jeopardy in January 79 when GM withdrew as a major sponsor. Eagleson argued GM withdrew as a result of a dispute with the CAHA. The disputes put the two bodies on the verge of severing all ties, a move that would have led to Hockey Canada refusing to release any professional or university player to any of Canada's national teams. The tournament was ultimately postponed by a year until September 1980. Now, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in December 79 and a threatened boycott of the 80 Summer Olympics in Moscow led organizers to consider again postponing the Cup. While Eagleson initially favored allowing the tournament to go ahead regardless of the political situation, he ultimately agreed that Hockey Canada should again postpone the Canada Cup after the Canadian government joined the Olympic boycott. A brief effort to move the tournament to Sweden was quickly put down when Eagleson informed them that neither Hockey Canada nor the NHLPA, which he ran, would participate in such an event. Undaunted, Eagleson and IIHF President Gunter Sabetecki announced that the tournament had to again be rescheduled for September 81 before the start of the NHL season. This time, the tournament went ahead of schedule. Now, the Soviet Union treated the Canada Cup with disdain, but entered the tournament intent to reassert himself following their upset loss to the U.S. at the 1980 Winter Olympics. They were led by the KLM line of Vladimir Krutov, Igor Leonov, and Sergei Makarov on offense, as well as the Bobby Orr of the Soviet Union, Vyacheslav Fedosov, and Alexei Kasatonov on defense, with the venerable but still strong Vladislav Tretiak in goal. With a strong mixture of veterans and young players, the Soviets entered the tournament as favorites. Now, in '76, Team Canada had some WHA and NHL participation, but in 1981, they had a whole bunch of young players and up-and-coming skaters. They had a considerably younger team as compared to '76. Three defensemen, Ray Bork, Paul Reinhardt, and Craig Hartsburg were under the age of 22, while 20-year-old Wayne Gretzky was expected to be a defensive catalyst. Gretzky's pairing with Guy Lafleur was highly anticipated, and he would combine with each other for over 22% of Team Canada's goals, while the New York Islanders quartet of Bossy, Trotchy, Goring, and Gillies were also expected to be offensive leaders. Now, with 17 NHL players on their roster, Sweden felt confident he could upset the Soviet Union and Canada by using a system of strong team play. Kent Nielsen, coming off a 131-point season for the Flames, Thomas Steen, Ulf Nilsson, and Boris Salming were expected to be the team leaders, with only 5 returning players for their appearance in the 76 final. After suffering from defections of the Stastny brothers, Peter, Mary, and Anton, to Canada, the Czechoslovakian team entered the tournament in the midst of a rebuilding phase and were not considered heavy contenders. Now, the Americans, riding high following their gold medal victory at the 80 Olympics, were considered to have the potential of upsetting the stronger teams in the tournament. Now, Mark Howe, Rod Langley, and 7 players from the Olympic team were expected to lead the States. Tony Esposito, although he played with Team Canada before, was the American goaltender. Esposito represented Canada in 72 Summit Series, but gained his American citizenship in time to represent his new nation. As in 76, Finland was expected to finish last in a 6-team tournament, despite the fact that the Finnish Hockey Association considered the team sent to Canada among their best their nation had assembled. Now, the tournament opened on September 1 at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, as the Americans defeated Sweden 3-1. Swedish coach Andrew Palmstrom upset how his team underestimated the Americans, sat several of his top players for extended periods of the third period. Now, at the Winnipeg Arena, a young Czech team battled the Soviets to a 1-1 draw in a very rough contest. The Soviets were forced to rely on the stellar goaltending of Vladislav Tretiak to preserve the tie. In the third game of the opening day, Canada's dream line of Gretzky, Lafleur, and Gilbert Perreault combined for 10 points as Canada easily defeated Finland 9-0. The second line of Gillies, Trotchy, and Bossy also combined to score 10 points in the contest. Now, Finland fared a little better against Czechoslovakia 2 nights later, losing 7-1. Now, despite outshooting Finland 26-9, Finnish goalie Hannu Lisala they managed to stop pretty well everything, and the Czechs only had a 2-1 lead after 40 minutes before finally covering the Finnish goalie to score 5 in the third. Now, Sweden also attempted to employ a physical style against the Soviets without success, as he surrendered 5 power play goals and a 6-3 loss. Canada defeated the States 8-3 in a game that was played much closer than the score indicated. The Americans appeared to be headed to a draw with Canada, as the teams were tied 3-3 with 9 minutes to play before a power play goal by Mike Bossy sparked a 5-goal outburst for the Canadians in the dying minutes of the game. Now, the Soviets then avenged their 1980 Olympic defeat the States with a 4-1 win, while the Swedes defeated Finland 5-0. Ending the third night of play, the Czechs were able to overcome a late 2-minute two-man disadvantage to emerge with a 4-4 tie against Canada in a game that was described as the best of the tournament. Canada then defeated Sweden 4-3, but not before losing Perreault to a broken ankle. Perreault was Canada's leading scorer over the first 4 games and was considered a contender to be MVP of the event, but the injury stopped that. The United States had overcame an early 2-goal deficit against the Czechs to win 6-2, while the Soviets easily defeated Finland 6-1. Now, the final night of round-robin play opened with a meaningless game between the States and Finland. The Americans had already advanced in the playoff round, while Finland had been eliminated. The game ended in a 4-4 draw and was most notable for Montreal Forum staff accidentally playing the Italian national anthem instead of the Finnish anthem prior to the game. The Czechs had easily defeated Sweden 7-1 to advance to the playoff round and eliminate the Swedes. Canada and the Soviet Union closed out the round robin with a battle for first place. After a 5-goal outburst by Canada, the third broke a 2-2 tie and sent Canada into the playoffs as the top-ranked team. Their 7-3 win was the most lopsided victory Canada had recorded against the Soviets in 20 years. Now, remember this. Maybe they did that on purpose. We're going to find out. As the top team in the playoff round, Canada faced the 4th-place Americans in the first semi. Talk entering the game revolved around defensive style of the States and whether he could overcome Canada's offensive game and upset the favored nation in a one-game winner-take-all scenario. Early play favored Canada as they opened to scoring 2-1 in the game on a goal by defenseman Brian Engblom, then extended their lead 5 minutes later when a long shot by Bossy eluded Esposito in the American goal. Another goal by Bossy saw Canada end the first up 3-0. The remaining 40 minutes of the game lacked emotion, and the two teams traded goals for a 4-1 Canadian victory. Now, the second-place Soviet Union faced third-ranked Czechoslovakia in the second semifinal. Soviet coach Viktor Tikhonov was agitated following his nation's 7-3 defeat to Canada to end the round robin, while the Czechs had grown increasingly confident in their ability as the tournament progressed. But it was the Soviets, however, who scored 3 first-period goals to take an early 3-0 lead. The young Czechoslovakian team pressured their opponents for much of the final 40 minutes, outshooting the Soviets 23-11 in the second and third periods combined. Now, Tretiak, who was very good on the angles that game, withstood the pressure in the Soviet goal, however, allowing only one counter as the Soviet Union emerged with a 4-1 victory. Now, Canada entered the final facing pressure to defeat the Soviets. Now, this wasn't a best-of-3 like 76 against the Czechs, where Canada won 2 games. This was a 1 game. Now, the Soviet national team easy victory over the NHL's All-Stars in the 79 Challenge Cup left the Canadians searching to regain command of their rivalry with the Soviets. Coach Scotty Bowman, at the time, was very nervous, called it a must-win game for Canada. We really are favorites in the final. Nobody in this country will tolerate a loss. The players also spoke their desire to show the Soviets that they were the world's top hockey nation. Now, Soviets were also a lot of pressure as they lost to the U.S. amateur team at the Olympics. They had a lot to prove. Now, Tikhonov called upon his team to play the finest game of their lives. Today, you got to play so well that the entire Canadian population will talk about you afterwards and remember you for a long time. Play so well that the Canadian fans, when they will leave the forum, will wait for you when you get out of the bus after the game and admire you. And his prediction came true. Now, Canada held an early advantage of play, outshooting the Soviets 12-4 in the first, as their opponent was unable to generate offense. But that's a North American perspective of the game of ice hockey, to shoot the puck across the blue line. But the Soviets instead passed the puck sideways to a player coming from behind with higher speed, which requires an exceptional interaction. And Canada, of course, was unable to put a puck past Tretiak, which has been a problem in the past, and the first period ended in the Soviets' favor, despite a 0-0 score. Now, the Soviets counterattacked in the second period, openly scoring 5 minutes in on a goal by Igor Larionov. Clark Gillies eventually tied the game for Canada 3 minutes later, but Sergei Shepelev restored the Soviet lead 3 minutes after that. Shepelev then added a power play goal late in the period to give the Soviets a 3-1 lead heading into the third period. Now, as in previous years, when Canada would play the Russians, they would hold them for 2 periods and be totally embarrassed by the end of the contest. And this is what happened. The third period turned to a rout but for the Soviets. Shepelov completed a natural hat-trick, and the Soviets scored 3 goals in the final 4 minutes to claim the championship by an 8-1 count. Now, a lot of people put the blame on Michael Wheat on this, and I hate to say it pretty much. He played like a second-rate WHA goalie in the game, and that's what he was for a period when he was playing as a second-rate goalie in the WHA. Now, Louis again became the scapegoat for Canada's embarrassing loss, and really was never the same after this. The game was again one of the worst of his career, but Canada managed only 4 shots in the third period and never threatened the Soviets, even though they entered the final 20 minutes down by only 2. Tretiak, meanwhile, was named the tournament's MVP on the strength of his goaltending throughout the event. Now, when the Canada Cup was presented, Eagleson said you can't take it home, and he tried to take it home, and this is the next part of the story. The fate of the championship trophy itself was a subject of controversy after Canadian hockey officials, accompanied by Montreal police, prevented the Soviet team from taking the trophy back to the Soviet Union. As he took the cup from the Soviets at the airport, Eagleson claimed that the trophy was intended to remain in Canada at all times, as we like to say, make it up as you go along. The decision upset the Soviets, who claimed that Eagleson's decision was made in violation of the traditions existing at international competitions. George Smith, a truck driver from Winnipeg, organized a fundraising campaign that raised enough money to create a replica trophy that was gifted to Soviet officials at their Canadian embassy. Soviet officials praised the sportsmanship of the Canadian people as he accepted a replica. The replica was made despite a threatened lawsuit for copyright infringement by Hockey Canada President Lou Lefebvre, but he later said, if someone wants to spend $11,000 worth of nickel to Moscow, send $11,000 worth of nickel to Moscow, it's not my business. Now, tournament organizer Alan Eagleson, lamenting the rapidly increasing costs of hosting such an event, speculated that the 81 Canada Cup could be the last. He said the cost had increased up to 200% over what was paid in 76. Eagleson speculated that a third Canada Cup might be held in a different format. Organizers were also disappointed in attendance. Now, the 2 games scheduled to be held in Quebec were transferred to Ottawa after only 300 tickets were pre-sold for a round-robin game between Czechoslovakia and Sweden, and 1,000 for the semifinal game. Low ticket sales also led to fears that the game scheduled for Winnipeg would also be moved, but the investments the television partners had made in rental equipment to broadcast the games from Winnipeg prevented a switch. Now, adding to Eagleson's woes, Toronto Maple Leafs owner Harold Ballard refused to allow any games to be held at Maple Leaf Gardens as a result of his hatred of the Soviets. Now, strong support of Montreal in response in Ottawa after the games were moved to the national capital left Eagleson increasingly confident in the tournament's future. The 81 Canada Cup turned a profit about $1 million to be split between Hockey Canada and the NHLPA pension fund, 1/3 of that of the 76 tournament. Now, shortly after the tournament ended, Eagleson confirmed he intended to hold a third Canada Cup. He noted that Canada's loss in the final played a role in his decision. As far as I'm concerned personally, it's probably preferable that we lost. I think if we had won, I'd said to hell with it. Now, regular season, round robin standings: Canada 4-1 with a +19 differential. Soviet Union 3-1-1. Czechoslovakia 2-1-2. United States 2-2-1, making the playoffs in an upset. Sweden 1-4-0. Finland 0-4-1. And again, States 3-1 Sweden, Soviet Czechoslovakia tied, Canada 9-0 over Finland, Czechoslovakia 7-1 over Finland, Sweden losing 6-3 to Soviets, Canada 8-3 over the States, Sweden 5-0 over Finland, Soviet 4-1 over the States, 4-4 tie Czechoslovakia and Canada, 4-3 Canada over Sweden, Soviet 6-1 over Finland, States 6-2 over Czechoslovakia, 4-4 tie Finland and United States, Sweden 7-1 over, losing 7-1 to Czechoslovakia, Canada winning 7-3 to Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia losing 4-1 to Soviets in the semis, 4-1 for Canada over the States in their semi, and then 8-1 over Canada by the Soviets. Now, top players, 5 of the top 6 skaters were Montreal Canadian, Montreal Canadian Team Canada players. Gretzky had 12.7 contests. Bossy had 11, Trottier 11, Lafleur 11, including 9 assists, and Perreault had 9 points in 4 games. Goaltending, Mike Louis, 6 games played, and of course the big 8 goals given up in the last one. Again, MVP Tretiak, All-Star team, Tretiak, Kanalek from Czechoslovakia, Kasatonov from Soviets, Bossy, Perreault, and Shapalev. Now, what's kind of weird about this, you think Wayne Gretzky would be named on the All-Star team, and he didn't make it. Because, again, it was a weird turn all the way around. Now, this was broadcast mostly on CTV. There was very little CBC participation. But what made it kind of unique for me is because the amount of goals were scored. 128 goals in 18 games, 7 goals per match. And 160,000 people, or about 9,000 people per game, watched the contest. But the better games are at the forum. But certain players that played in 81 should have not made the team because of injuries and different different machinations. But what I liked about the tournament for Team Canada that year, they were giving a chance for a lot of the top players to do a different format, especially the Bossy era with the New York Islanders. Now, just a little background about one last thing before we're going to talk about the roster for the team. I just want you to listen to the roster here, and you tell me what you think. Okay? Now, for Team Canada, Barry Beck, Raymond Bourque, Mike Bossy, Marcel Dion, Ron Duguay, Brian Ingram, Clark Gillies, Danny Gare, Bob Gainey, Butch Goring, Wayne Gretzky, Craig Hartsburg, Guy Lafleur, Ken Linsman, Rick Middleton, Gilbert Perrault, Denny Potvin, Paul Reinhardt, Larry Robinson, and Brian Trottier. Now, for the training camp only, this could have made its own team. You had Bill Barber, Randy Carlyle, Paul Coffey, Mike Gartner, Steve Payne, Rob Ramage, Jim Schoenfeld, Daryl Sittler, Steve Shutt, Bobby Smith, and Dave Taylor. So, Steve Shutt not making the team. Ron Duguay is there. Certain players were left out. Now the goalies: Edwards, Mike Lewitt, and Billy Smith. It was a mistake to start Mike Lewitt for all the games, and of course Barry Lassard was in training camp. Coaches for the team included Scotty Bowman, Al McNeil, Red Berenson, and Pierre Paget. Now, in my personal opinion, there's around 6 or 7 players that could have been taken off the main team, and Paul Coffey. I wasn't Paul Coffey back then, but Team Canada, just with this Bill Barber, Carlisle, Coffey, Gartner, Payne, Ramage, Schoenfeld, Sittler, Shutt, Bobby Smith, Dave Taylor. Enough said. And when he lost 8-1 to the Russians that last game, you're looking at the killer instinct of some of the players. Steve Payne had destroyed Montreal in the playoffs. Paul Coffey was coming on. So was Schoenfeld, Darren Sittler, Steve Shutt, Bobby Smith. I mean, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. You do the math. Anyway, if you like what we're doing here, we're a Canada Cup historical profiles. Let us know with a like, comment, and subscribe. And for the Americans that never watched the Canada Cup, games of the series are available on YouTube if you want to check them out. It's sort of like a Hockey Hall of Fame preview for the 1990s inductees. Thanks for listening. Bye.